G'day, welcome back. So today we're working on the VR6. We're going to be swapping out the worn out Bilstein dampers with nice new shiny Konis. Right, so on the Golf I noticed one of these Bilsteins was starting to leak. Nice film of oil around the top. I don't know if you can quite see it in there. I've actually cleaned it up a wee bit, but yeah, it's leaking oil. If you try and compress it, still got a fair bit of resistance. It still springs back, so it's not actually totally knackered. Shows you how solid these Bilstein dampers are. But our replacements are these Koni ones. These were a little bit cheaper. In fact, yeah, couldn't afford the Bilsteins, so we went for these Koni Str.ts. These are nice and orange, non-adjustable Konis. Koni's top quality brand. Super stiff, and yeah, look pretty similar, apart from if we look at our rod length, which you always compare our rod lengths, a little bit shorter on the Konis compared to the Bilsteins. I've already done the one side, it's not a problem, it's long, it's good enough. The spring's under tension, so that's all good. So let's take this one off the car, stick it on the bench, swap it out. Right, so our first step is to undo the top nut on here. Now normally you'd have to use a setup, well, you should use a setup like this, or an angled wrench and a hex key to stop the damper from turning. Unfortunately, this damper's been off and on the car a few times, so the six-sided hex bolt is more kind of a one-sided circle, so it just spins in there. Not going to mess around with it. I'm just going to hit it with an impact, which should take it right off. So it's 22mm. So that's off. We're just going to wind it on a couple of turns, so stop the shot from flailing around. To get the strut out, we've got this wee bracket that holds the ABS sensor. There's a little bracket that holds the brake hose. There's these two big nuts here. I always tend to just disconnect the ABS sensor, just so you don't put any stress on the wheel by accident. We'll undo that bracket. These are held on by cable ties on these dampers, and we'll undo those nuts. These two bolts are 18mm. You should really try and kind of mark your camber angle. We'll try and get at a score where our things align, but it's kind of hard because the dampers aren't quite identical. It's going to go for an alignment anyway, so we'll try and get it pretty close. I've left a mark of roughly where our alignment should be. Good enough until we get to the alignment shot. Right, 18mm. It turns out I don't have too many 18mm sockets. That one's a wee bit long to get in here, but we got a shorter one of those. That's one. Two bolts, that's the way. There's our strut. Right, so here's our old strut. I'm going to pop it in the vise just to give it some support. And the spring's under tension, so we've got to use our spring compressors. Right, we'll just tighten this on down. Oh. It's got a wee bit of slack at the top there. Right, there's our top mount and the wee bearing. Spring plate, spring. This bump stop's in pretty good condition. See the one that was on the other side, a bit more munted. I've still got a little bit of life in. But yeah, these are, well, I've had them for 5 years. I've bought them second hand, so they're probably 8, 9, 10 years old. So for a 10-year-old damper, it's holding up pretty well, but not ideal. So there's our boot that should be up there somewhere. Right, our new damper. Can protect it a wee bit when I look after the paint. So I noticed on the one I did on the other side, this paint actually flakes off pretty easily, so when I put the bolts through and tighten up bolts, big chunks of paint have already started dropping off. So quality maybe not quite as good as the Bilsteins, but we'll see. Now this bit apparently goes like that. Not sure why. Just it flaps around like a flapper. Right, we can actually undo the spring compressors. Our spring's pretty dirty, just give that a wee clean up. There we go, it's even got a date mark on, so 27th week of 99, so these are like almost 20 years old. It's good going. Right, so first up, we'll put our spring back on. Line that up. We got our bump stop. That. Got a wee stone in the top like that. A bit of a clean up too whilst we're here. Make sure it's nice and clean. It's a wee tang that you've got to line up. We've got a new bearing. Sits on there. Top mounts, that's our new VW Bilstein one, standard one. These are the ones I was running, these male HD ones. So you can see got a fair bit more rubber to them, a bit more solid. These don't seem worn at all, so I'm going to keep using the heavy duty ones, keep these as spares. Put on that back on. Alright, so we don't want to do this nut up with an impact. I'll do it with this L-shaped wrench, so we'll just wind it down as far as we can. Making sure our shaft isn't spinning. And we'll pop our Allen key in. Make sure it's tight. There's a torque figure, but I don't know how you've managed to torque it without extra tools. So that's our strut. You see, the spring is captive. That's not loose anymore, but yeah, you didn't need the spring compressors to do it. These Koni Str.ts are designed for lowered springs. I think we've got about a 2-inch drop, I think, something like that. So yeah, that's captive. That's safe. That's ready to go back on the car. So installation's a reverse of removal. Pop it up, put your top plate on. Comes with a new nut, so just kind of put that on a few threads, stop it falling off. A few more. Prefer them going backwards. Less likely to fall out. So you see, just by putting the bolts through, you get a fair bit of orange paint come off these. Just going to leave it, just left them a little loose just so we can try and line up our alignment mark. Which we have. We'll torque those up before we forget. Well, Tool Pro torque wrench, 70 foot-pounds. Perfect. Then we've got our bracket for our brake hose. Screws onto the shock there. Once you get it lined up, just a 10mm. Make sure your hose is nice and free. Bracket for your ABS sensor. We'll get some cable ties so we can sort those out in a minute. It's on. It's on. Well, then we're just going to tighten up this top nut. Again, we're going to have to use our Allen key in the hex there on the Allen bolt. We'll just get it. Oh, mind your paint on it. There we go. That's it. So everyone always asks me where I get these, where I got this L-shaped wrench from. The answer was eBay. It's called an L-shaped wrench. This one's 22mm. It's a Leroy Merlin brand. It's quite handy because you get the little access hole there, so it fits on quite nicely. Got a nice long handle. It's a wrench at both ends. The Allen keys are Tool Pro, that spanner's a power built. Quality tools. Right, so that's these Bilsteins off the car. Still got a fair bit of resistance. They are a bit oily at the top, you see probably where a load of dirt's got in there. But I presume these are the same age as the springs, 20 years old. They're actually held up pretty well for 20 years. Of kind of high performance dampers, so that's a testament to Bilstein quality. Got the Konis on there now. Just going to do the anti-roll bar links. I'll show you those when I get them off the car. It's only 2 bolts. Show you what the old one looked like and why I'm changing it, and then we'll go from there. So here's that dodgy wee roll bar link. Don't know if you can hear. Wee bit of play in there. The boot's lost its integrity there. Bit floppy, so as I say, 2 bolts, one at the bottom, that screws into the end of the bar, and you're done. So front suspension should be looking pretty good on this car. We got new dampers, new bearings. Didn't change the top mounts because old ones were really good. Roll bar links, all in, all torqued up, and good to go. So there we go. Comment, like, subscribe, and we'll be back for the last of the fixes on the VR6. Cheers.